Hello friends, welcome to this tutorial on Java Basics. In this tutorial we are going to cover yet another very common Java interview question, which is about what are the different ways you can create objects in Java. So in this tutorial we will see the 6 most common ways which are used for creating objects in Java. So let's start. So the first way is using the new operator. So this is the most common way to create objects in Java. So here is an example. We are saying person equals new person. So this is a very common way and almost everybody is familiar with this. In fact, if you write a very simple program, the first program in which you create any object, this is the way you're going to use, right? So let's move ahead to the second way. The second way is using Class.forName and using new instance method, right? So forName is a static method in the class called class, okay, with this capital C. So there is a special class which starts with capital C and it's called class, and in that there is a static method called forName. So using that also we can create objects. So what you do is you say person remote equals, then I'm typecasting it to person, then we are saying class.forName and we are giving the fully qualified name of the class. For example, here the person class belongs to the package com.free tips central. That's why we have to give the entire package and the class name. And on that I just invoke a method called new instance, which will return us a instance of the person class, okay. So this is the second way to create objects in Java. So this is just a description of what we have done. The forName will return the class object related to the person class, and new instance will create the instance of the class and return us the object. Now let's go to the third way. The third way uses reflection. So reflection allows us to analyze the class programmatically. That means if you want to write a program which wants to investigate what are the methods, what are the constructors, what are the fields available in a class, you can use reflection. So using reflection, you can actually get hold of the constructor and invoke method on the constructor to create instance of the class. So usually you will not use reflection to create instance of the class unless the constructor is private, okay. So if the constructor is private, you cannot say person p1 equals to new person, because it will not be accessible to other objects, right? So there is a way in which you can use private constructors to create instances in reflection. So let's see what that is. So what you do is you just say class.forName equals com.freetipcentral.usb. So this is same as what we saw in the last slide. You just give the fully qualified name and use the class.forName. So it will load the class related to USB class, right? Then I want to extract the constructors from this class. So I'll say class.get constructors. So this will return array of constructors and store in this variable called constructors, okay. Now let's assume that there is only one constructor and I want to use it. So I'll say constructors of 0th element dot set accessible equals true. That means I'm assuming that this constructor is a private constructor, but I want to have access to that, okay. So I'm saying set accessible equals to true. That means give me access to this constructor, okay. Finally, I just call the new instance method on this constructor and it returns me the instance of the USB class. So I hope this is also very clear to you. Now the fourth method is using the clone method. So clone method is a method on the object class, okay. It creates a copy of the object and returns it. So here is an example. So we have person p1 equals new person and I want to create a copy of that p1, so I'll say p1.clone, and it will return me one more instance which is a copy of p1. Here I am going to store it in the variable called p2. Only thing you need to remember is that person class here should implement the clonable interface. Okay, so only if it has implemented the clonable interface you can clone it. The fifth method is using deserialization. So what is deserialization? So deserialization means reading back serialized version of objects. So what is serialized version? The serialized version is from object I create the state and store it in a file, or I want to send this object across the network, so somehow I create a byte stream and send it through the network so that other JVMs can get access to it or other programs can get access to the object. Okay, that is serialization. So once that serialization has happened, that means object has been converted to some kind of byte stream, right? Now if you want to read it back and assign it to another object, that is called deserialization. So let's see an example. So what we are doing is we are first serializing in object to a file. So I'm saying that this is a person and I'm initializing with the name called Ravi. Okay, now I'm creating a file output stream person.txt. That means this object will be stored in a file called person.txt. Then I create an object output stream and use this variable as a input to this object output stream. That means whatever object is there and written to this object output stream will finally get stored to person.txt. Then object output stream dot write object p1. So this p1 object I'm going to write it in the output stream. So what will happen is this p1 which is an instance of person will get serialized and get stored in the person.txt. Now I want to read it back. So how do I do it? I say file input stream equals new file input stream, and I say that I want to read back person.txt. Okay, then I have to associate a object input stream which is opposite of object output stream. Okay, and attach this file input stream. That means it will read whatever is there in the file input stream and object input stream will have access to that. Then I say object input stream dot read object. So it will convert it into an object which is I'm typecasting it to person, and it will store in the p1 variable. So what is happening is I am using deserialization here to create instance of person object. So that is the fifth way to create instances of objects. What is the sixth way? Sixth way is using arrays. So this is also a very common way. So what happens is when you declare and initialize any array, automatically instance of the array is created. For example, what we have done is we are saying int array numbers equals to 2, 3, 4, 5. So internally and implicitly it will create instance of the int array and assign it to numbers. Okay. Similarly for string also you can do the same. I'm creating a string of 3 names and I'm saying that these 3 names will be creating instances of array and it will be assigned to the variable called names. Fine. So friends, that's all I had for today, and in case you have found it useful, please like and subscribe to my channel and also provide your inputs in the feedback section. I'll be back with some more useful videos on the Java interview topic. Till then, take care and see you soon. Bye bye.